Witness Media Podcast with Kurt Maggs. Kurt Maggs Radio.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Key Witness Media Podcast with your host, Kurt Maggs, in the building. What's popping? Yeah. Yes, we're here to bring you a quick episode of the Key Witness Media Podcast. And guess what? I'm also the host of the Kurt Maggs Radio Show. Yeah. Yes, thank you. We're here. Man, what a long week we've had. Actually, the past couple of weeks. Last week was the election. President Trump. And then you had Vice President Biden. And so far as we know, Biden won the election. So he is to be installed as the new president of the United States. But Donald Trump refuses to concede. As we would all believe, he is not going to sit back and give up that seat without a fight. Now, there's some things I have some issues with as far as the political process. And I think we know all about the electoral votes, and we can always talk about the popular vote and this and that, how things are tabulated and how they look at things. And sometimes you wonder, did your vote count? It's all based off the electoral votes. And from what I remember, I think the popular vote pushes the electoral vote for someone to says yes, whatever. And then you got some states that have more votes, electoral votes, than others. So you may have one state that only has 6 electoral votes, and then you'll have another one that has 21. So of course, anyone who's going to campaign, they're going to go after the bigger votes. They're not going to spend as much time on those small votes. So the more and more you get into this political process and you kind of try to understand it, it gets more confusing. I don't know. We've been doing this a long time. And, well, you can just remember how the Al Gore, George Bush situation came out when it was Florida. And I remember going to the polls. I remember getting off work and rushing to get to the polls by 6 o'clock and voting. And I'm going to admit, I voted for Al Gore. I wanted him to win. Did not want to see George Bush back in office. And that turned out to be a disaster because we all thought that Al Gore won. And to later find out, hours later, that he didn't, that they had called Florida. And to come back and find out that Jeb Bush had something to do with that. Said, not my brother. But man, as we look at all of this and what's going on, Donald Trump is not going to concede his seat. And to be objective, if there's anything going on with the voting process, he has a right to say, hey, this is not fair, and I don't believe these votes are real. That goes for anybody in anybody's case. So we can't sit back and say, oh, he doesn't have a right to do this and he doesn't do that. They pretty much, from what I'm hearing, he pretty much, if he doesn't concede, he can actually push this. But if you notice, they're pushing for him to concede and said, stop being a crybaby and go ahead and concede. So you know there's got to be something in there that him looking at not conceding. They're taking it serious because they want him to go ahead and say, "Oh, I give up." It's sort of like waving the white flag. And Donald Trump said, "No, I'm not going to wave the white flag, and I'm going to do everything in my power to stay in office." So we'll see what happens with that, and keep our eyes on the process, and I think everybody should try to figure out what is really going on with the political processing and voting and everything else, voter registration and this and that. Do our vote really count? That's something that we all have probably questioned in the back of our minds. But moving right along, I want to send condolences to King Von, the rapper out of Chicago. He was one of those drill rappers, and I'm not going to say I knew all of his music. This is a whole different era as far as music and the rap scene. And drill music is something I really don't know much about. I just know about most of these rappers because they have died. And then you find out they're from Chicago, and then you find out they're from the drill rap scene out of Chicago. So the more and more that, and I can say, even though I didn't know King Von's music, I didn't know who he was, only because another podcast that I listened to was trying to look into the Chicago drill rap scene and the murders, everything that was associated with it. Why is it so many Chicago rappers dying from the just dying terrible deaths? They're all murdered. And while this other podcaster was actually doing research, he was doing a research show about it, he started actually playing some of the music. And I'm going to say that some of that music was very dark. It's almost like it had a spirit behind it that was very unpleasant. And one of the songs that he played by King Von was from the O. I guess it's a block in Chicago. And I've been in Chicago. I have no idea where this O block is. I think they said it was on 63rd or 64th. It's a Chicago thing. So I don't quite understand it. I would probably have to go research it and find it and actually take a drive over there, if it's safe, and take a look at what they're talking about. But rest in peace to King Von. And I did know one of the songs from the O. And I'm gonna say the song was kind of catchy after you hearing it, and this guy, the podcaster, just kept playing it over and over, and I almost caught myself tapping my foot, nod my head towards, like, say, let's go. But man, it just don't make sense. I'm not understanding why is it so much crime, murder and death in the city of Chicago and amongst these young rappers. And I understand that the environment has greatly changed. There's more distractions, but there's so much hate that is not making any sense in the black community. When did we as black people started hating each other that much that we would just kill each other? It makes no sense. And the more and more research I do, the more and more I dig, the black community have done more damage to each other than anybody. I can remember listening to songs like Self-Destruction, and I'm trying to think of the brother's name. He had a song called Bust a Move back in the day, so we really going back. Talking about Young MC. That's his name, Young MC. And I remember his verse in Self-Destruction. He said, "Brothers killing other brothers. I thought the message was to love one another." And then that made me reflect on Tupac's If God Can Judge Me. If you really listen to the lyrics of what he was saying, it was very deep. And if you actually go and look up the lyrics, they go even deeper. And there's a line that he says in that song, if only God can judge me. He said, and they say it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. I can't lie, ain't no love for the other side. Jealousy inside make him wish I died. That's a very deep line that he used. And there's countless of songs that are like that. But I always go back to that. That rings out more to me than anything on the song. And that was one of my favorite Tupac songs. Track-wise and everything. Countless of times I've seen where my own kind have turned on each other. When you start getting into different sectors of business, whether it's legal or illegal, you see some turn on each other, either because of greed or money, status, some say clout chasing, and it never fails. There's no, hey, let's work together. Let's do this and do something positive and make a change. Some complain, man, we need to stop all this killing. We need to do this, we need to do that. And most of the time, nothing ever happens. Have we failed our own? Is a question we should all ask. And I believe that everybody should look in the mirror and say to themselves, am I part of the problem? And I've been around a few people who say, hey, that's not my problem. I'm going to just worry about myself. It doesn't become a problem until it hits your front door. Me, myself, I've done business with blacks. And I can say that it's always very unfavorable. When you're doing business, everybody wants to hook up. And Lord knows if you do business with church folks, they want the hookup as black. They want the hookup because they go to your church. And it's embarrassing. I remember going to college with a guy who opened up a fish market. And he was selling fish, chicken, and different dinners. Popular spot in the G. And we in college learning business and understanding how business works and the inside and outside. So I was asking him, hey, how's things going and this and that. And he said, you'll be surprised of how many people come up to the establishment and ask for extra pieces of fish, chicken, hush puppies. Hey, could you give me another basket of fries, extra, man? We know each other. We grew up together and this and that. And he's looking at it, hey, man, everything that I do, it costs. So if you're ordering a 4-piece wing dinner, and I give you 6, and then that's going to cause me to lose money, because that extra 2 pieces of wings that you didn't pay for cost. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, that's no different from when I just said the other podcast of Michi saying that her beautician charged her $150 to do her hair. And then as soon as Michi started doing well for herself, she raised the price all the way to $950. Tapping into her pocket. And that's not right. That's not right. Countless of stories that I know, that I've dealt with personally, and people that I've known who talked about the ones that they had to watch the most was the ones that looked just like them. They strived and did better with other ethnic groups and was taken care of better than their own. Me, myself, when I deal with people, I deal with them individually and how they treat me as a person. I normally never go along with the gossip. If someone keeps telling me, hey, you better watch out for that person or this person, and they did this and they do that, I kind of go find out for myself. Now, I don't know if that's because of my age or whatever, but I notice that more people are becoming more gossip, chitter chatter. I think Damon Dash called them chatty patties. A lot of time the information will be wrong or it's taken the wrong way. But then every now and then it's spot on. So if I'm looking at a group of people and I deal with them individually in the relationship that we have, now this person may have had a rough relationship with that person and don't want you to have that relationship with a person, so they may just throw salt in the game or say something bad about the person that makes you kind of side-eye. Well, I'm going to tell you, I side-eye everybody. I don't sit back. Where I'm from and what I've seen and what I've witnessed. That's why this is called the key witness. Because I've seen it and heard it all. And just because I don't tell it all, don't mean I don't see it. See, one thing when you're a musician, and I mean you really into music, music, there's an emotional side. There's a passion. There's a love. If you're making music to dance, you're going to put an emotion and a feeling in that song that's going to make people want to dance. You just don't sit back and say, oh, I'm going to just come up with a beat and just lay a bass line and add a couple of horns and strings and they're going to dance. No, it invokes a emotion, a groove. You bring life to it. And that's in all music, whether it's gospel, jazz, Isley Brothers type of, they call it baby making music. All of that stuff is the reason why you feel the way that you feel. And I'm going to tell you personally, most musicians who really know what it takes to make people feel, they can feel you during the conversation. They'll know that if it's a fake vibe or if it's a real vibe. That's why a lot of times musicians hang around other musicians. Like-minded, vibe. That's why some producers and writers and stuff vibe with each other more than they do with another camp. It's a setting, it's a mood. And a lot of times, me personally, I can feel it and sense something is right or wrong. It's no difference if you listening to Casey and JoJo from Jodeci, and you hear that, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. They're not just saying it to say something. It's an emotion. That's why a lot of times you can go back and that ooh yeah just doesn't it represents something. And what I've learned about my own people, we're not always honest with each other. We're not always truthful with each other. And it all depends on where you sit at. You will sell the other ones down a river to maintain your position at the top. I'm going somewhere with this. You will look at other ones and say, oh, they from the hood. They ain't talking about nothing. They ghetto. So you may look at yourself as better than they are. Not right at all. I do my best to try to keep everything 100%. And I'll start off with a 100% and then watch you drop that percentage down. Now, just the other day, I was sharing with a person about when I would go out on dates and we would go to a certain restaurant, and I'm really trying to impress the young lady I'm with. And for the record, I want to make this straight. Me and this guy, we was talking about something. So I made the reference that I was making pretty good money. And he said, well, you gonna get the finest pickings when you got money. I said, nah, bro. I was handsome too. I was quite handsome. It wasn't all about the money. It helps, but no, it wasn't like that. But moving on. But as we sat in the restaurant, I would always tell the waiter or the waitress, I would start off with a $20 bill. And I would let them know, if you make sure that my date and myself is taken care of, your tip is based off that 20. Good service, $20. Decent service, $10. You tried your best, but you were overwhelmed. May drop below $10. Bad service, you get nothing. Nada. Not even thanks. But most of the time, that $20 was enough for them to say, hey, you know what? They have something in mind and a goal in mind, and they want to work and make sure that they treat you good and get that $20 bill. When we're dealing with each other in the black community, we really need to take a look at ourselves. What would we do in order to save ourselves? Is there anything wrong saying, hey, I love you, brother, I love you, sister? Hey, before you go out there and do something, could you think about it? Now, in that King Von situation, that the fact that he died and the manner that he died in, and I don't want to go into the story of what happened. I know it was a big fight and this and that outside, and I don't really want to get into the fighting and everything else. But looking at the video footage, these were all black people. Then the police was there, and they were shooting, and you got people that still have nerve to talk about the police being there and this and that. And it was like, do you want the police there or you don't want the police there? King Von died for no real reason. Some say it was karma. Some say they're not clear on what really happened. But it was a fist fight. Why was a gun used? Those two brothers could have fought it out and moved on. The best man wins. That's what we used to do back in the day. You put your hands up, fought it out, and you went your way. And a lot of times you got respected for fighting. And don't get me wrong, you also got heckled if you lost. You got your butt kicked, bro. But we're living in a situation, whether you win or lose, you can still lose your life. And this is a call to all the blacks that I know and that I see. In the words of Tupac, it's not the white man that I should fear. It's my own kind doing all the killing here. Peace and God bless.